All right. Good afternoon, everyone. I was about to say good morning. Yeah, y'all know Marketing Outside the Box, we're a family. So I'm just going to start off by saying I love y'all because I literally have not been to sleep yet, like at all. And part of me was like, just send an email and cancel and go to bed, girl. But no. I love my Marketing Outside the Box family. So we're here, we're going to do this. And when I'm done with this, I'm getting my nails done. I'm not going to sleep. Anyways, welcome everyone. I see some new names and I see some familiar names. For those who are not familiar with me, I am Maglia Synth. I serve as the executive director for Hustle Winston-Salem, which is a nonprofit dedicated to inclusive entrepreneurship in Winston-Salem, North Carolina and beyond. We do this program, Marketing Outside the Box, every single week. So happy to see some of the same faces we see, or some of the same names, I should say. Some I haven't seen in a while, happy to see them in the room. Because of time, we don't typically go around the room to do introductions, but we encourage you to use the chat. And for those on Facebook, use the comment function to tell us who you are, tell us about your business, drop anything you want us to know, your social media handles, etc., so that we can connect with you. And before I hand it over to our presenter for today, I just want to give a brief understanding of how we run Marketing Outside the Box for those that are new. Marketing Outside the Box, we typically have a topic for the entire month. And each week we try to give you bite-sized pieces of information. So by the end of the month, you feel like you have a whole concept or understanding of the topic. This month's topic is proven PR for profits. Abria will introduce herself, tell you a little bit about her business. I won't steal that from her. She probably does a better job at introducing herself than I do. Just know that this woman is phenomenal. And it is our honor to have her with us throughout the month. So thank you so much, Abria. And lastly, all of you should be getting our emails. There are a few updates in there today. If we have time at the end of today's session, I'll circle back to some of those updates. If not, please make sure you check out the newsletter, and I'll make sure that I bring it back up next week if we run out of time today. With that, Abria, it's all on you. I'm going to hand it over to you. And you are muted. Okay, there you go.
Thanks so much, Maggie.
You're muted again. We can't hear you. I think we can now.
All right. I'm sure you can hear me now, right?
Yep.
Wonderful. All right. So, everyone, thank you so much for being here this afternoon. It is really a privilege to be able to present to you all today. I and also want to say up front, I'm grateful for your patience, and not only with any technical difficulties we may have, but in full transparency, this is going to be my first time teaching this particular set of material, though I certainly practice it on a daily basis. And so I really appreciate you all's strong sense of interaction and feedback as we go through this next 4 weeks. And so now I'm going to start sharing my screen and share.
And Bria, we have one more day of Mercury retrograde. So by tomorrow, all this technology drama should be over. Okay.
Thank you for letting me know that it is planetary alignment and not spectrum that I need to be upset with. Thank you for that. It's a consolation, Magali. So give me a quick cheer button or some sort of reaction to let me know that you can see my screen and that we are here. Thanks, Sheridan. Appreciate you, girl. So I just want to say, my name is Abria Armstrong. I am the founder and CEO of 91 to Infinity, which is a marketing organization which specializes in the full suite of marketing materials. So that's everything from media outreach to website development, to social media copy, to even thinking about branding and brand story or even brand books. And so I've worked on accounts from Walmart to Four Seasons to Stain Master. I recently left the Innovation Quarter and now working for a municipal finance firm, but I still very much have my private clients, and I really enjoy being a business owner and being able to have opportunities like this and being able to say, hey, are the skills that I learned working for these big organizations, and this is how they can be applied to smaller businesses, and how, we, and I say we as all small business owners, and how we together can grow. And so today, and actually quick housekeeping thing, do know that I want this to be a very comfortable course. And so if you are more comfortable with the camera being off, that is just fine, but I'll just say presence is required. So camera off is cool, but presence must be on. So again, so thank you for your attentiveness. And so today we are going to get into the types of media, as well as the value of media relations. And so we're going to start on a super, super high level. And also, excuse me, before I go into the next slide, what you'll also see on this slide are some of the other concepts that we're going to cover in the latter weeks. So if those are of interest to you and you want to learn more about how to apply these, things like how to do a press kit, or how to become an authority or an expert in your field, or seen as such by the media, please make sure you come back in the subsequent weeks for those lessons. But for today, we're going to start high level and just really thinking about what is publicity and why does it matter. And so this is where a bit of interactivity comes here. So whether you want to come off mute or put it in the chat, if we could get a few thoughts on what is publicity and why it matters, particularly for small businesses. And as you all are thinking about it, I'm going to fill the space and say that as we go through, there will be several exercises and sort of group questions here, and know that there are no wrong answers. And at minimum, I'm really just looking for at least one person to speak up whenever these opportunities arise. So just know that there will be plenty of room for each of you all to participate and speak up, but also know that it is not required for every question. So I am now taking oh, thank you. I'm looking at everybody's comments. The word attention. Thank you, Magali. That's certainly a great association. Anybody else want to comment on why does it matter, particularly for small businesses? Why does getting attention? Yes, free advertisement. Wanted to make sure somebody else didn't come off mute and wanted to say something, but absolutely. It's this idea, publicity, sure, is just being intentional about getting people people becoming aware of your business or your organization or your brand. So publicity is everything from social media to what you see in a newspaper interview to your even own personal blog post. And absolutely, Tony, it 100% helps with reach, because a lot of these platforms already have an owned audience, as we'll get into later. They already have their own audience that now your brand is able to reach without spending the dollars and cents. So thank you all so much for your thoughts on that. And so, yes. Oh my God, you all, I feel like, Robert, y'all reading my slides? Like, I feel like you all know exactly what I'm about to get into, but Robert, absolutely. We're really going to dig into that in a second. Oh, yes, Tasha, the idea of owning your story. That is super important and true. And I think in next week's section, section, we go through what is called a press kit and this idea of brand story, and making sure that you are able to clearly articulate what your brand story is, so that people aren't coming up with their own ideas about you. So media. So as I mentioned, media is everything from social media to a newspaper article, right? And within that is segmented into three types. So there's owned, which are the channels that you control, we'll say. So whether that is your web domain, your social media handles, any blogs that you may own, anything that you can literally log on to and press publish and add content to, that is your owned media. Then there's paid advertising. Think your Facebook ads, think web banners, think an ad in a local periodical. That is your paid advertising. And then lastly is earned. And earned, in my opinion, is where so much opportunity lies, because as you all so eloquently put in the comments, is this idea that other people can talk about you and the sort of the sense of credibility that you're able to establish by being on their platform that they've already built, in the sense of credibility. So I'm so excited to be able to really dig into exactly what Robert just mentioned about it's better to have others talk about you than yourself. So as we think about like why publicity is important, when others are talking about you, this positions you as an authority. So, I'm sure I'm going to use Magali here as an example. I'm sure a lot of people come to Magali when they need an expert on the entrepreneurial ecosystem here in the Triad. So whether that is let's say it's Small Business Saturday and a news station needs to talk to a small business owner, someone works with small business owners, because Magali is out there, she might be someone that they would consider saying, hey, you know what, I can call her and get a quick interview. And so the same would be true for all of your specific realms. So Mo, I see you here, always a pleasure. So thinking about, hey, if a comic book or an illustration or animation convention has come to Winston-Salem, what local animator or creative can we talk to in order to get an interview and perspective on this? So I certainly want you all to understand that within each of your lanes, there is lots of space for coverage and there is room for everyone. And as Tony mentioned, this idea of increased reach, and I say should reach drive higher brand engagement in the sense that nothing is guaranteed, but free is free, and a bit of ad is better than nothing, right? And so there is certainly ways that we measure this, and that is probably one of the biggest qualms within media relations and earned media is say, hey, how do we measure the monetary value of this outreach? And there is an equation which you see at the bottom, which stands for earned media value equals impressions. So the number of people that see the particular thing, so whether that's read the article, see the news interview, or the like, that's your impressions times the cost per thousand. So let's say that someone wrote about you or made a post about you on Facebook. There is a clear cost to what a Facebook ad would be in terms of cost per thousands. And so you can estimate and say, hey, this would normally cost me 45 cents per click. And then you can multiply that up to get your cost per thousand. And that's how much your earned media value is. And so even though it's a bit hard to get a handle on, there is a way to numerically value that. And that's particularly important as you're thinking about why is it worth me taking the effort and the time that we're going to be discussing in the rest of the course in order to do these things to get these earned media. And so what that equation is one of the ways to measure that value. So next we're going to get into, so what is news? Like what will get people talking? So as I want to emphasize this concept of timeliness. So Small Business Saturday is a great example of timeliness. Let's say you are a small business who has some sort of activation on that Saturday. That's a great news pitch. Impact. This is really in human interest. I'll group these together. And so we'll think about things like philanthropy. So on one of the upcoming slides, there's a great example of this. But saying, or for example, let's say that you, I'll go ahead and use Chrissy. Lean Back Soul Food may be an organization that many of you are familiar with. And Chrissy has started doing the owner has started doing a Thanksgiving food giveaway in Bailey Park. And ever since that first dinner giveaway, she has gotten news coverage every Thanksgiving. I think this last year was the third year that it's happened. And so I bring that up as an example of impact. If you are doing some sort of effort that touches the community that people would be interested in. Conflict. Now, unfortunately, that's one of the things that's like, we don't necessarily want to drive this, but people do love gossip. So I think that is, I put it here on the slide, but I won't go too deeply into it. And proximity. So it's this idea that if something is happening within your space, how you react to it. So that means, so that proximity is both geographical in terms of what's happening in your like immediate vicinity around you, but then also like within your realm. And so I'll lean on Small Business Saturday as a good example of that, or let's just say whenever the Triad Women in Business Minority Expo comes around again, thinking about, hey, how do I sort of lean on these things that are already newsworthy to say, hey, here's how my brand is doing this differently. Here's why it's worth talking about the efforts I'm making around this thing. And lastly is celebrity and prominence. And so let's say that Chris Paul is coming to your events, to your grand opening, or let's say even that this is even more important. Let's say you're partnering with an organization. So let's say there's somebody in here that owns a food company and you have just now partnered with Wake Forest, excuse me, Lord, what are they called now? Now we're going to use Novant for sake of simplicity. And so let's just say you partner with Novant to be the supplier for all of the food in the hospital. So when it comes to prominence, it also can be prominence in terms of the partnerships that you're establishing with larger corporations as well. So an actual example of that is a small research firm that is based within the Innovation Corridor, Javara, when they secured a clinical trial contract with what was then Wake Forest Baptist Health, it was a big news splash, and it all had to do with this idea of the small organization linking with this big organization that were doing very sort of impactful and novel things in a particular space, both geographically within Winston-Salem, but also within the biotech fields. So now that we've talked about what is news and what people might be interested in a general sense, and we will absolutely dig into what this can look like for your small business, let's talk about who are the people that could be saying these things, right? So it's everyone from social media stars. So we just mentioned some free press on Facebook, to bloggers, national publications or website in your industry. And I think that's a big opportunity there. So really thinking about what your particular niche is and thinking about the sort of small pocket that you might sit in. So again, I'm picking on Mo just because I can see his name right here on my screen. So let's think about like Black animators. Like that is a very small pocket, right? So like what publications are just focused and targeting Black animators? And so each of you all has one of those sort of little pockets. And you just have to consider what that is and think about what publications exist within that space. Thanks, Mo, for the permission. And then lastly, local publications, and anything that you see in gold throughout this presentation and throughout the following weeks is what I'm going to emphasize in upcoming slides and where I see a lot of opportunity. So for local publications, think about things like, for here at Winston, your WXIIs, think about your Winston-Salem journals, think about your chronicles, right? It's all of those, your Yes Weeklies, it's all of those sorts of type of things that are publications that are particularly interested and literally need this type of content in order for their channels to function. So how do I get coverage? There's one particular channel that I found, and I think the media professionals like myself have just generally found to be most effective in terms of being able to get coverage, which is through press releases and or media opportunities, which go hand in hand. And the latter ones of become an authority in the field and stay active and make yourself available are topics that we will cover in the following weeks, which are certainly important as well. But for today, I want to really emphasize this idea that journalists, I actually come from a journalism background who transitioned to a creative agency, who then transitioned to in-house work, so working within the brand's management itself. Press releases are the key method in which journalists are accustomed to receiving this type of information, receiving news that you're having the grand opening, receiving the news that you're having a new product launch, receiving the news that you're about to have this charity event. And there is a particular format, and we are absolutely going to get into that, and it also allows time for exercise and application. Thank you, Magali, for your question. So what would be the other option, to have a phone call to communicate it?
Yeah, if you communicate it verbally somehow, is it still considered a press release, or is it only if you send it in a written format to them?
Thank you. The press release is generally considered to be a written, sort of almost templated type of document. And what it also allows the press release also, I'll put it like this, and I think I might say this in the following slides, so I might skip ahead to it, is to say that it allows the media to find out what they need to know about your product launch, event, et cetera, that I just mentioned, without having to talk to you. So that's actually the purpose of the press release, is to avoid that conversation. So you don't have to have 50 of those conversations with each media member, which then, as Latasha mentioned, allows people to create their own ideas about you, misphrase things. When it's in writing, it's a very clear, prescriptive, here's what so-and-so said about this thing, and these are the facts. So just less room for error. Though there is 100% value in having relationships with journalists, which is what I talk about that. I think that's maybe week 3. We really dig into why it is important to, though, have authentic relationships with those journalists. So thank you for raising that point, Max. So I promise I'll get to press releases in a moment, I promise. But I'm going to start by mentioning media opportunities. And these media opportunities is content that will also go within the press release itself. So I wanted to make sure we went through this slide so that as we get to press releases, you all are really able to visualize and know what this looks like for your business. So when we get to press release, you're like, okay, this is what I would say here. This makes sense for me here, da, da, da. So media opportunities. This is the idea that you want them to come and see something that you are doing. So whether that is a location grand opening or a charity event, and this idea of charity events, I feel like there's so much great opportunity, not only for and Sheridan, absolutely, yes, absolutely, 100%. I'm going to tell you more about how you can send it yourself, because I send my own press releases out. So just know that everything that you're seeing in this presentation are things that I literally do for my own business as well. And I am my own publicist, and shamefully that. And so you all have to be your number one shameful publicist. No one is going to believe in your brand as much as you, and no one is going to be able to tell your story better than you can. So thank you for Sheridan for raising that point. So with the charity events, the media is always interested in good things happening, because there are so many ills in the world. They're always looking for a good human interest, feel good story to balance out all of these other things. So I want you all to each consider in your individual places, what is something philanthropic you can do that's relevant to your business? And so even though I have my own set of community service of philanthropy that I do through the Urban Young Professionals, as a business owner, I've certainly been asking myself this question more aggressively. And so I've said, hey, maybe something like a literacy drive or some sort of book drive. I work in writing, what can I do around encouraging literacy in the community? How can I encourage creative writing and that sort of expression? And so I just bring that up as an example of the sort of thought that you can build around what this philanthropic event might be. And also know, I know this is not the intention, but just know when you do these charity events, product giveaways are equally a tax write-off for you all as well. So know that there is certainly a benevolent arm, but there's also very much a fiscal advantage to doing something like this as well. And then when you see for this last bullet, Voices of Change, and the acronym stands for Community Business of the Month. it's this idea that there are already opportunities within the media that exist that are just looking for people to fill in those spaces. So Voices of Change is a program that Spectrum News has that I was featured on. I think I sent them over to Alan Younger and Frankie Gist to later be featured. And I think it's just kind of going around the community here in Winston in that regard. Magali, I'm gonna sign you up soon. What these spaces, as well as Community Business of the Month, and Max, shake your head, isn't Hustle a part of that consortium, right? Yes, right. So Community Business of the Month is, if for those who aren't familiar, and I feel like there are already several of you who've already been, oh no, it's not. Okay, there have already been Community Business of the Month. Girl, I don't know what you shake your head. I don't know if it's me, the comments. I don't know what you got going on.
What you were talking about, which consortium you were talking about, the one you're talking about, Business of the Month? No, we're not.
Okay. But within the Black entrepreneur community here in Winston-Salem, that is a wonderful outlet that the Chronicle, as well as Take My Business Center, and some other entrepreneur organizations, or forgive my brain slip right now, there's a monthly, that's the title, monthly opportunity for your business to be featured. So throughout the community, there are already, again, these existing opportunities, and you just have to seek them. And it's really going to take some Google searching / you watching the news or reading various publications to say, hey, who's profiling, who's doing a monthly profile on this, or who's doing a weekly profile on that, or how do I get included in this sort of spotlight? Or even think about the universities or any sort of schools that you may have graduated from. Like, a lot of them also have like alumni newsletters. It's the same sort of thing. And below this, I included some of the screenshots from Lean Back's media coverage. And so the one on the left is, I believe, from Yes Weekly. And then the screenshot on the right is literally the various the multiple, and this is why I included this, the multiple publications that are covering her event. So again, this is free press, and not only is she able to make an impact with the event itself and being able to serve and feed people, but then she's also getting the brand and business recognition and equity as well. So that's why I'm super privy to charity events. And I also certainly want to mention, I'm glad you all are already dropping questions in the chat as well. Please feel free, I'll do my best to pause between slides, but please feel free to continue to drop questions in the chat. I will glance at it on occasion as I go through. So now that we've discussed some opportunities and things that the media may want to talk about, and who that media is, right? Whether it's a blogger or a YouTuber or somebody on Instagram or the Winston Journal, press release 101. The press release is unless it's someone on social media, I think this stands outside of that, but particularly as it pertains to traditional platforms like your TVs, your newspapers, your magazines, even your radio, even for radio, press releases are the way to go. And so what they communicate is your news. So whether that is, of course, letting them know in the simply, hey, I'm having this grand opening, hey, this product is launching, but particularly what you want to emphasize along with the sort of general 5 W's is the value, the unique value proposition that exists within you in your space. So are you the first woman to open a store in said place? Are you the first person of color to do this? Are you the youngest to do this? Or what is unique about your particular product and innovative? So really be considering what makes you different, and understand that it may be something that you on the inside may not realize is special. And so sometimes it's important to take a step back, particularly in spaces where we are few in number, where people of color are few in number, to say, hey, you know what? It is unique and special that I am this woman of color doing this thing. This is worth mentioning. And especially if you got something going on in February and you're Black, like now is a great time. They're always looking for Black History Month stories. So just know if you have anything cool going on in your organization that lends itself to Black history, now is a wonderful opportunity to be able to use that with media as your media opportunity. And it also communicates how you feel about the world through quotes. And so this was what I was mentioning earlier to Magali about your own story and being able to have in writing these quotes. So, so let's say, again, I'm going to keep going with the grand opening. So let's say you are having grand opening. You could have a quote from the business owner, which for the sake of our conversation, who's in this group here is probably you. And you can mention how you are the first or the only or whatever, or how your product is different, that sort of thing. And you can also even in that mention your company's mission. And this, forgive me, this is me taking a moment to see if I can be, to dig into this a little more. Your brand and your brand's take on the world is equally as important at this point in consumerism as the product itself. People, for the most part, are as interested in your brand philosophy. Do you give back? Do you use sustainable materials? Do you source from minority vendors? You know, all of these things are super important, and people are interested in this now. And so when you, through quotes, you have the opportunity to outline how you sort of, for lack of a better term, check all those boxes in terms of racial, what we'll just call racial equity, as well as potentially sustainability, depending on sort of what your industry is. And then also it allows them to know, to be able to grab something so they can write an article. So let's say that they can't make it to the grand opening, but they still want to feature, I'm using Yes Weekly as an example, but Yes Weekly still wants to feature a small little write-up on their website or in the newspaper. They can literally take that quote, and Mags, I know you've written great press releases before that have literally been like damn near copied and pasted onto websites before. They can literally just take that quote and incorporate it into their piece. So it just allows your brand exposure to be multiplied without you having to do much more. And the last element of a press release, and we'll see a template in a second, is boilerplate. And a boilerplate is essentially your company's about. And I want to say in next week's session, we'll get into what that actually is, like how to write a boilerplate, and we will even do a writing exercise so that we can all go through this exercise, go through this ourselves. So here is a template. I'm gonna let y'all take a look at that. So at the top, you'll see contact information. In the center, you will just find the press release title. So it would be something like woman-owned, local woman-owned company celebrates first anniversary with grand opening, with party, I don't know, with giveaway, you know what I'm saying, whatever the thing is, right? And then from there, and I may have to stop sharing my screen. I actually wrote in the speaker's notes a good template place. Yeah, it's worth me doing. Let me grab this link for you because I want you all, here we are, to be able to immediately go and grab this and be able to apply these templates for yourself. So in the chat, you will see a link to HubSpot. And at HubSpot, you will be able to download a full sort of press kit template, which is all editable. There's also a very in detail guide that, thanks Mags, that very detailed guide that reiterates a lot of what we will be discussing through the month of February. And so you can certainly see the content within this press release in terms of announcing like what the product or service is, product or service is, and then we'll look at an event press release template in a second, as well as the quote. And even you'll see that they have pulled out as well the value proposition, so the benefit or features of this particular product or service. And then at the bottom, and certainly more contact information. This is super important so that the media platforms audience can then literally look into and follow up and become a customer, right? Customer acquisition. That's why this particular line is super important for the sake of that. And then of course, ending with what we call a boilerplate, AKA about. There we go. Oops, really? Sorry, my screen disappeared on me. I don't know where it went. There we go. All right. Yep, perfect. All right, so what's a boilerplate? So it's going to include, and again, this is really just your company's about. So date and place your organization was founded, your key products. So Sheridan, looking at you, it'd be things like this hair accessory company, or it actually might be more than hair accessory. It might just be called accessory company, right? Don't necessarily want to box yourself into it just being up here, right? They could be anywhere, right? So big shout out to SharePins. And just, and so your company's mission as well. And so this is where I was mentioning this idea of philosophy and why it's important, and making sure that you have an understanding of your organization, what you stand for, and why that's different. And then as well as major milestones, awards, and honors. So let's say your company was Community Business of the Month, or you as an individual have won certain community awards. Tasha, HubSpot really is like super useful. There are lots of other great tools on there. Glad that you found that helpful. And so the boilerplate, as I lastly mentioned, also links to social media accounts and your contact information, particularly your website. So this is Sony Music example. I don't expect you all to read all of this. I just want you to skim it as we sit here, but it literally just says the type of company that Sony is, the products that they offer, where they are. And this last few sentences, you'll see there are mentions of awards, so award-winning alpha interchange lens cameras, leading manufacturer, and then they end with actual contact information. So again, it doesn't have to be this long, but I just wanted you to see that even for large corporations, the general structure is the same of what goes in a boilerplate. And so now we're going to do a writing exercise. All right, so everyone, whether it is on paper in front of you or in your notepad, I personally have a book that I call my How to Make Millions book. This is where I'll be writing this. So wherever it is, get yourself ready, and I'm gonna slide back over to what's in a boilerplate, and we are just going to take 5 minutes and draft our own. See you on the other side. All right, let's take one more minute. Okay, good people. I hope that was a fun thing for you. As a business owner, isn't it fun to reflect on like, oh, wow, it has been 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 1 month since my company was founded. Oh, wow, like we have won these awards. Like I personally find it to be a really great sort of just general exercise. So is there anyone who would like to share their boilerplate?
And Abria, they know me well enough. If somebody don't volunteer, I'm gonna start calling names.
I love it, being voluntold.
Sheridan, you look like you just want to. So go ahead.
No, I just needed more time.
Well, tell us what you got so far.
SharePens was founded in 2019 in Winston-Salem. Our mission is to allow uniqueness to heal and transform lives. That was kind of it. We began with products that started as interchangeable pens, and our major milestones are we've been featured in a few publications. So like, yeah, I just needed more time.
Did you just finish the rest off top of your head?
Yes.
That's a great start, Sheridan. Do me a favor, reread the first sentence for me again, please.
SharePens was founded in 2019 in Winston-Salem.
Great start. What I would encourage you to add to that sentence is the type of company you are. So within that first sentence, I would encourage you to say SharePens is an accessory company, or whatever you might want to call it, so that even within the first line, they know exactly what your literally what your business line is. But I'm loving what you have thus far. Great job. And thank you for sharing. What we have next? Okay. So now that we have gone through the sort of general premise of what press releases are, and you all have the template, you started writing your boilerplate, what are some questions that the group has? Did anything come up while you were writing your boilerplates that you would like to bring up, or general questions about press releases? Let's see. Oh, somebody has a question I see in the comments. Thanks, Max, for calling it out.
No, I was just asking Lucretia if she wanted to share hers, because I saw that she unmuted, so I didn't know if she was planning to volunteer.
Yes.
So I wanted to leave space for that if that was the case. No pressure, just wanted to make sure I didn't ignore that.
The floor is absolutely open to anyone who wants to share their boilerplate or who has a question.
Hey y'all.
So,
Oh,
sorry, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I want to share mine. This is Tasha, Harrison Springs. I wanted to share mine.
Please.
Texting is Risky Business was founded in Winston-Salem, North Carolina in 2019. We provide fleet management companies with proactive solutions to help keep their fleet safe. We use the MAD program, which stands for Mindful Aware Drivers. We use meditation and prayer to help break the bad habit of using mobile devices while driving. Our mission is to eradicate mobile device use in vehicles. We have worked with Vision Zero North Carolina, Hands Free North Carolina, and the Independent Insurance Agents of North Carolina. We have been featured on ABC, NBC, CBS, and AAA Carolinas. Did I forget something?
Just your contact information at the end, which you certainly don't have to read to us, but otherwise, Tasha, I absolutely love how you outlined your mission and how you have brought that mission to life through partnerships. I love the larger organizations and entities that you also mentioned within your boilerplate, saying, basically you're saying, hey, I am on this stage at this level. I'm already doing things with these type of people and establishing your sense of credibility. That was really fantastic.
Thank you.
I will give you the same small piece of feedback that I gave Sheridan, which would be just to move the fleet management company piece or line, literally just those like 3 words, up into the first sentence. But otherwise, sounds fantastic. Thank you for sharing, Tasha.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
So does anyone have questions, for example, about various types of media, like who can talk about me? Does everyone have a good sense of the type of periodicals that exist within their industries? Okay, I see a hand raised.
It's me. I normally have a million questions. Even though I teach marketing outside the box, I typically bring in experts on other things. When you went over the press release, Abria, I do have a question. I know I've submitted a number of press releases, but is it unacceptable to not have some features? If you go to the example, I'll point some out, but to not have some features or it's set up in that particular way where it might get rejected. For example, I don't like to have my phone number out there. So I typically don't put my phone number on a press release that I send out. Or, you know, I might leave the understanding that the quotes that need to be in there, I might have one and just be like, this is all they got. Like, is it likely if you do that, your press release won't get picked up? You know, are you breaking like core press release rules, you know?
So yes and no. I'd say no in the sense of there are certain publications that will be happy to work with that and like will be grateful for the news and will be like, for example, if particularly like if it's a media opportunity or you know what I'm saying, like they like that's enough information for them. They just want to show up. You know, they don't need too much more of a hook. But I would say in general, especially if you don't want to put your phone number out there, the more information you can include in the press release, again, so they have to talk to you less, the better. I wouldn't say that it's an absolute faux pas, but I certainly wouldn't say that it's a best practice. Now, in terms of the setup of like benefits and features, again, this is, I strongly believe in illuminating differentiators, and I strongly believe in bullet points just because the eye is able to easily like scan them. And so what people are, or you're almost making me want to skip to next week a little bit, Mags. What people are particularly interested is like them thinking about what is going to make a difference in their readers' lives. So if what your headline is, if the general announcement itself is compelling enough, I think you'll be okay, but it certainly needs to be like particularly compelling. And benefits and features, to me, it's like they need to know up front, and it actually may be before they actually get to the press release, because we'll talk about how to actually send these next week. So it may be in the body of the email that you send to them that has the press release as a URL or attached. Where you say, hey, this is what's special about this thing, versus putting it in the press release itself. But it really definitely needs to be outlined, the unique value proposition or what's unique about this event or product launch, or else they're going to be like, doesn't matter, we're not interested. Did that address your concerns? Okay. I know we are coming to the end. Any more questions? And next week, I will absolutely start by asking, hey, did anyone come up with any or, have any questions in the interim? So just know if you are doing things over this next week, feel free to write any sort of issues or things that may come up, and please bring them to next Wednesday's class so that we can all learn together. Otherwise, I thank you very much for this first week and for your patience through this process. I appreciate your sense of presence and that you all were willing to offer yourselves up and to share. Shannon, I'm seeing your message in the chat. Thank you for introducing yourself as well. And so I really hope to hear more about each of your individual stories throughout the rest of this course. And if you're looking for me, you can easily find me. Just search, Bria Armstrong on LinkedIn. Thank you, Robert, for the love. I'm happy to answer any questions anytime as well.
Thank you.
That's all I had, Max.
Yeah. Thank you so much. I told you all you were in for a treat with Bria, and I'm just excited for the next few weeks with her. Just a point of clarification, and we leave this up to the speaker, Bria. Typically, we do share the slides within a couple of days of the presentation, but some speakers prefer that we wait until the end of the month. Do you have a preference on whether or not we share each week with the attendees today?
I am comfortable with you sharing the entire presentation with them now. Sounds good to me.
All right, awesome.
You have the link.
Receive it as regular. You'll receive that in an email from Hustle, and we'll share all of that to prepare you for the next couple of weeks. And then I just want to take a moment before we all leave. If you have to go, I understand. Bria, again, thank you. Can't wait to see you next week. Just want to take a moment to share that what I was started talking about in the beginning of today's session about the emails. If you are not receiving the emails, please let us know. And I'm stressing this because of the funding opportunities that have deadlines for your small business. You all remember last week we went over some of those grants and processes, things of that nature. Some of those are in the emails with the deadlines. So want to make sure that you, a lot of your businesses qualify. So want to make sure that you are taking advantage of that as you come to market outside the box, being able to grow your business, but also getting access to funding that's just there for you, But if you don't have any more questions, I just want to stress that again. Lastly, in the email, I'm probably going to talk about this a little bit more. But in the email, we also put out the information regarding our Inclusive Investment Summit that we are doing February 17th and 18th. You'll see all the information in the email. I won't spend too much time talking about it right now. But if you are interested in investors, if you're interested in the investment process, if you're interested in understanding it, should you have investors? Why would you want to give investors X% of your business? Is there a benefit to you? Are you comfortable with the process? Like all of those things we are addressing during that summit. It is free, but space is limited. So make sure that you register and get your spot in, okay? So I'm leaving space for any additional questions. And if not, I'm happy to give you 2 more minutes to your day. I see a question in the chat. One moment. Or maybe it was just to me, I don't know. Oh, could I receive info about the email list? Lorraine, yes. So we automatically add you. So you'll be on there by this time next week. But if you want today's email, is Tasha still here? Tasha, can we make a mental note to send it to Lorraine?
Yes. I'll send it to everyone who's here today.
Okay, perfect. So we'll get it to you, Lorraine. Fantastic. All right, well, I thought I was gonna give y'all 2 minutes, but we're right at time. So have a great rest of the day. See y'all next week. Bye. Thank you so much, Abria. I need to stop the recording and the live.
Next week.
Bye. And bye to our Facebook audience.